Hi, everybody. It's Liz Fanlow. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm very excited because tonight I am starting the first of what I hope will become a regular series for me on Facebook Live called Wisdom for Women. And what I want to do is interview women that I've met along the way through my endeavors of building my own business and talk to some of them about lots of things that go along with starting your own business and how it can be super difficult and super awesome and incredibly gratifying and all of the range in between. So tonight, I'm going to talk to two women who I very much admire, and I think you will like their stories quite a bit as well. And we're going to talk about the obstacles that we put up ourselves of our own design when we decide to start a new endeavor, no matter what it is, and how we go overcome them and achieve what we want to do despite those things. So the first gal that I want to bring on is Michelle Wynn, and Michelle is from Brisbane, Australia. And I'm going to link her in here on Facebook Live, and I'll go from there. So let's check this out here. Bear with me. Okay. So hopefully that is inviting Michelle. Yay. Proving her. Oh. And it is coming in all the way from Australia, so we have to give it a hi, Michelle.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, great to see you too. I'm so glad this all worked out. So it's the evening here on the Pacific Coast, and I know it's the middle of the day for you, yes?
Yes, it's about 12:30 on Friday afternoon, and it's winter here, but I guess for California terms, it's not that cold. It's about 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's well, there you go. That's winter for you. That sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. Okay, great, Michelle. Well, thanks for coming on. I very much admire the businesses that you have built, and I know you're a marketing executive. And I think the first question I want to ask you is just to have you tell a little bit about yourself here for everybody that's watching.
Sure. My name is Michelle. I'm originally from California, but I moved to Brisbane, Australia about 7 years ago. I am happily engaged to a beautiful man who is Australian, and we have a busy household with two boys. They're really much into their sports. One is 9, one is 11, and the last thing that I thought I could fit in was a side business. So yeah, you never know. um, Besides marketing, I also have a nursing background, and that keeps me busy as well.
Wow. Okay, great. So what we're focusing on tonight, oh, by the way, congratulations on your pending wedding as well. I'm sure that's keeping you busy too.
Oh, just a little bit.
Okay, so tonight we're going to focus on some of the obstacles of our own design, and what I mean by that when we start a new endeavor. And what I mean by that is maybe you could tell us when you were thinking of starting your own skincare business like I have, what was sort of the main obstacle in front of you that you created yourself, the narrative in your mind, right, that was stopping you from maybe pursuing this avenue or this dream?
My biggest personal obstacle was I was simply too busy, or I believed I was too busy. And I think a lot of people feel the same way when they are approached about starting a new business. And what I had to do to overcome this personal objection of mine was to reflect. About 6 months after I was first approached by a dear friend of mine to start my own skincare business, I thought, well, nothing's really changed in 6 months. And if I don't get off the couch and do something about this, then nothing will ever change. So I realized I had to reframe what I thought was busy. And someone who I deeply admire, Dr. Libby Weaver, we learned from her a way to reframe situation, and that is, if we think we're too busy, maybe we should start saying, well, I choose not to prioritize this blank, whatever it is. So if you're looking to improve something in your life or change something in your life, maybe you're not too busy, but it's more, I guess, you're not prioritizing that. And I realized that I wasn't prioritizing certain things that I should be. And so that was just something that I ended up, I guess, reframing in my mind, and then realized that I could make time, and that the busy you are, sometimes you can fit more in if you just shuffle things around and make it important to you.
Yeah, that's a great lesson to learn, and that's, I think, something that, a lot of us struggle with. We all have our busy badges, and you can kind of get into this conversation with other people about who's busier, and
Exactly.
becomes this badge of honor, oddly. And
Mm.
yeah, I think prioritizing, we all can prioritize, right, as what's important to us. So now that you've built a very successful business in Australia, tell us, and I know you're growing a team. Tell us the obstacles you're finding, maybe the most common obstacles you're finding among other women that you're approaching about starting their second or third or fourth business. What are you finding out there, and how are you coaching them and mentoring them and helping them overcome that?
One objection I get quite often from people that I speak to or try to coach, they say, "Oh, but Michelle, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not that icky. I can't sell anything for the life of me." And I love that one because I personally used to think that about myself. So I always try and say, well, do you go and recommend your favorite pair of high heels? Someone comes up to you and says, where did you get that pair of jeans? Wouldn't you want to say, oh, I got it at so and so? Like, wouldn't it be selfish if you were to hold back on something that you loved? Wouldn't you want to rave about it? Wouldn't you want to share about it? Especially if it's something that will either improve someone's value of life or add any sort of value to improve their, I guess, well-being or state of mind, maybe their confidence, maybe help them earn a little extra income on the side. I just thought, well, I can share this with other people because I personally have gone through that myself. So I think people have such a bad idea of what a salesperson should look like and what they should be, and I just think it's just normal people every day. It's like convincing my stepsons to eat their vegetables. It's like convincing Trent we need a kitten in the house. So it's about, I think, and you're really good at this, Liz. It's about connecting. It's about connecting to the person in front of you, um, and listening to what it is that they deeply desire, and if they have something that you can help them with to provide real solutions that that they need and they want. And I think that in itself is selling, is being able to listen and provide a solution of quality that caters to your customer or prospective customers' needs.
Right. Wow. I really agree. I think I'm hearing you say, it's kind of about that, tiny, their needs, not yours, and what's in it for them. That really helps, and kind of that we're all salespeople in one way or another, whether it's to get a new kitten or not.
It hasn't worked
Good
yet, but
luck
I'm
with
not.
that one. Good luck. Oh, well, thank you so much, Michelle, for taking time out of your busy day to talk to us here tonight. And I look forward to many more of these. Again, thank you. And we'll catch up again soon, okay?
Thanks, Liz. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so while that was great. So while Michelle gets off of her Facebook Live, I'm going to pivot, as we say these days, to our next guest, and that is Jane Brody. And Jane and I met a couple years ago. She's also very successful in several lines of businesses, and I immediately gravitated towards her story and her presence. And just like Michelle, she's incredibly warm and approachable, but she lives in Sausalito, California, and she's just a totally different person. So I thought it'd be fun to have her on as well. So let me get Jane on. Hold on. Okay. Jane, I can't, for some reason you're not, hold on. Here we go. Okay. Inviting her. So let's give that a minute to out to Sausalito. And hopefully Jane will be on in a second. Okay. I don't know why. That's not... Okay, Jane, if you're watching, I'm trying to get you on here, but you're not showing up in my list. Okay, it says I sent you an invite. So let me just see here. Jane, are you getting the invite? I'm trying her on Messenger. Just give her another second to see if she can get on, because you'll really like her story. All right, hold on now. Okay, adding you. Now it's going out to Sausalito. Modern technology is awesome. It's trying. It worked earlier this morning, this afternoon. Let's see. Okay, Jane, are you on? Fine. Trying again here. One more time. Connecting. Hi. Okay, Jane. Well, you know what? We need to disconnect you and reconnect with your phone horizontal.
It is horizontal. You know, we've been freezing. It's the weirdest.
Oh, because now you're there.
Okay. Now it's vertical. Anyway.
Who knew? That's so weird.
You gotta love technology, right?
God. Okay. Vertical's not even supposed to work. Okay, perfect.
I know. It's full moon.
Okay. Well, Jane, thank you so much for joining. While we were technically connecting, I just sort of let everybody know that you're from Sausalito, and we've known each other for a few years. But why don't you give us the Reader's Digest version, sort of Jane's career?
Okay. Yes, I live in Sausalito. I did not take a direct path to skincare. I owned and operated an ad agency for 17 years, 22 people. So completely.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, exactly. And the 2008 recession provided a lot of change in my life. Let's put it that way. Had a really thriving business till then, and then everything changed like overnight. And wow. I had no plan B. So it was an interesting journey for a few years after that. I did sell the agency, and then I consulted for a few years, but I wasn't very happy. And at the same time, I was turning 50 and thinking, I got to get on this retirement thing. so,
Yeah.
so that's in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I am still a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I have a number of companies, the skincare being one of them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and it's allowed me a dual location lifestyle. So I do live in Sausalito, but I also live on the Big Island of Hawaii too.
So glad I know you. Might get the
Yeah,
invite one.
yeah. It's I've always been about freedom, and I didn't really realize that. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's really just been the last couple of years because in the agency, I always thought, you had to work harder. To create that future. And now that, it's partially the internet and technology has provided us the ability, usually when we can connect, right? Theoretically.
It worked. It worked in the end.
It works. Yeah. It always figures out. And that's actually a really interesting point because it's never quite a linear path, right? But you will always get there if you keep your eye on it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, so, I mean, you're so inspiring to be such an entrepreneur and starting lots of different businesses, even in the face of failure in some of them. So I got to believe that when you were thinking about starting, adding yet another one, that there were some obstacles of your own design that were running through a narrative through your head. And what would you say was the biggest one that you had to overcome?
Well, there were a lot. I think two primary. So first was skincare because I knew, I actually found this company because I was seeing some things I didn't want to see, and I thought, I got to get on this.
Yeah, yeah, right.
It had never played a big role in my life. And then I saw the business model behind it made a lot of sense, but I was thinking, I know nothing about skincare, nothing. Except what I was using wasn't working. But then when I really stepped back to think about it, I thought, well, I knew nothing about Oracle databases. I knew nothing about software companies. I knew nothing, but you stand into it.
And wait, and those were the types of companies you worked with
Yes,
when you were at?
within my ad agency. Yeah. Yeah. So we were a high tech firm.
Gotcha.
So it was not commercially driven, it was tech. And so, I think that just becomes a story. I think skincare is actually, pretty straightforward in terms of the knowledge that we need,
Yeah.
not in terms of from a dermatological standpoint, but from a representative standpoint and building, ultimately what we're really doing too is building a distribution network, and that's a whole different conversation. So,
Yes, that's a good point. So you were
yeah.
able to overcome your lack of knowledge and you realized you don't have to be a dermatologist and no one should
No.
expect you to be. Yeah. But so now that you are one of the more successful, top 1%, top 5% of the consultants out there with this company that we're so in love with, I'm sure you mentor and coach a lot of other women that are thinking about or considering new endeavors. And you
Hmm.
probably come across some typical female narratives. And I'm just wondering if you could share with us one or two that you hear a lot that you coach people through.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how we can get in our own way,
Yeah.
I think probably the biggest thing is what will my friends think, and I
Ah,
face that. And certainly when you get, to a certain point in life and you're identified one way,
yeah.
it's interesting, no matter what change that is, if it's career, if it's marriage, if it's moving, if it's children, not children, whatever the case may be.
Oh my God,
So
so true.
so for me, I always enjoy having the conversation about, what do you want your life to look like? Where are you spending your time and your energy and what are you creating? And it's not so much about what other people think, it's about what do you want and what are you working for? You know, I would have never been able to create this dual location lifestyle if I had stayed in the corporate, cubicle or the walls of
Yes.
corporate life. And even though that was a very, very successful career and it had its time, it's opened up so many new doors for me to have this freedom and flexibility. So I really encourage people to step back. And it's not only about what you're doing. I mean, what you're doing is super important, but it's also what are you creating? And that can be, both from a work perspective and a financial perspective.
Yeah. Wow. I that would I had those similar objections, and I love that reframing of it, and thinking about what you can create and how this isn't an overnight type thing, and it's
No,
always the best things that take the time and the planning to create.
they do, but this model is really interesting because it can be so expedited. It's not a 30-year career,
True,
it's
that's true.
five
Yeah,
to 10-year career, and that's a
right.
whole different conversation.
Yeah,
And I think one of the things that really, lights me up about this that I never ever had in tech excuse me, the quality of the conversations that I have with my team and people looking at joining our business too. It's like, what are you creating? Because most people do this alongside a very full life and a very busy career, and that's the beauty of it, is it can just weave into everything, but it can make such drastic and profound changes in your life. So
yeah. Well, gosh, Jane, thank you so much for sharing tonight. I really appreciate it.
absolutely.
It's been lovely to get to work with you and get to know you. And I'm reminded that not only do we get to do this virtually, but we're going to see each other in person at a San Francisco event in 2 weeks that we're co-hosting. So that's
Yes.
kind of fun. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
taking the time, and I'll follow up with you later.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay,
Have a
thanks,
good
Jane.
night.
Okay, good night. Well, everybody, thank you so much for viewing tonight. I think it went well. I'm excited. I'm going to keep these going, and we'll come up with more topics, and I'll get to interview lots of different people and hear about their journeys. Have a great evening.